Okay, I can see the chat. That's good. I wish I can minimize this. Hopefully. Oh. All right, I'm gonna hide a code now so I can see who's here. Oh, Brianna Pinto with a big smiley face. Okay, so there's 9 of us. All right, everybody's here. Woo! Okay, if you're not here, let me know. Okay, I'm just checking if you guys are up. Nobody just laughed at that. Nobody got it. Okay, whatever. All right, so everybody's here. Okay, I wanted to go over just a teeny bit because I know you guys did good. Most of you did good, but I wanted to kind of give you a little bit about the final project or the mini parts. And I hope you guys read my feedback so that you can implement them in your next project and in your final one. But anyways, here's where I'm at. You plan, start early. So whatever we discussed today, that's going to be part of your next, of your part 2 of your final project. Because part 2 is the topic this week and then the topic next week, which gives you 2 weeks to create your next part. So plan early, start notes, start implementing it in your APA template, follow instructions, ask questions, call me, text me, email me. Use the resources that I provided for you. Use the MLA template. Don't forget your in-text citations. So if you say anything about Piaget or Vygotsky, that just didn't come out of your mind. So you need to kind of put in your in-text citations and of course your references pages. And the conclusion, treat it like a movie review article or a recap of what you talked about. So don't just say in conclusion, whatever. Introduction, treat it like a movie trailer. You know, what are you gonna talk about? Stuff like that. Outline, use the prescribed headings. Few of you who got an A, and mostly it's because you followed the prescribed headings. And you know why you have prescribed headings? It helps you put stuff together. It helps you build your content. Without the prescribed headings, you're just gonna be like all over the map. So follow those prescribed headings. Research, theories are not just made up. So anytime you explain a theory, use our resource or back it up with another resource. So always back up your claims. Where did you get this information? Proofread your work and submit it on time. And don't limit yourself to a number of resources. If you dig deeper, that's probably, you'll probably have more resources. My suggested number of resources is just suggested, but if you keep digging and digging on certain information, yes, you're probably gonna have a lot more. So dig deeper, you excellently made a good point, dive into it more, and why. All right, any questions on that? All right, yeah, I don't really see everybody, so let me know if you have questions. Yeah, I don't know. I changed my gallery and then now I can't change it, but I'll change it later. All right, so we're gonna talk about behaviors and morals. And I like talking about this. I do not like dealing with it with K to 12, just because there's just so much. It's like one kid is behaving so well yesterday and then the same kid will be like acting up the next day. So there's no science into it. It's just more, like I said, teach with your heart and just ask questions. All right, you are blessed with a 34-minute video. So right after our video, we're gonna go on break. And I put the bowling there because I know Gabby would appreciate it because I miss bowling during COVID-19. So 34 minutes and here you go. All devices just in case. And this woman is the author of the book that I researched for this class and for my other stuff. So she's phenomenal.
Hello to all of our CalA members and future members. We are so excited to provide you a video interview with Dr. Mona Delahook, who is one of our leaders in the infant mental health field, an author, a practitioner, and a CalA member, a CalA inaugural member. So we're very, very proud of her. What I'm going to invite you to do is pause the video so you can read all of the highlights of her career. I don't want to spend our time reading her outstanding background to you. And I do want to highlight there's a link to her website, www.monadelahook.com, where you can get information about the amazing things she's doing. Her 2 publications, which have been groundbreaking and have really opened our eyes in the field to think differently about social emotional development within the early intervention community specifically, but I think this clearly transfers to mental health, speech and language, all early care education. All of us can benefit from this book. And Beyond Behavior, which has just launched Dr. Delahook into quite a realm where a variety of people are excited and learning about this powerful book that connects current brain science to what we see in our kids. And from here, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to jump to the side-by-side where we are here to talk about your work and your passion and what we've learned about the brain and how you've put this together in a book that makes it accessible to all of us. So first, thank you.
And thank you for having me. It's such a joy.
For being here. And start with what motivated you to take on this project.
Yeah. Well, really, the motivation had been coming for about 2 or 3 decades working in the field. So, as you know, along with you, Dr. Stroud, I decided to specialize in infant mental health over 2 decades ago, when after I'd been in the field as a general psychologist, working with teenagers and adults for about a decade, I decided that toll it was taking on me was big, and I wanted to go towards more of a prevention model, towards something that I could go at the end of the day and say, wow, I made an impact on how this child is going to be 10 years from now, rather than looking back and, for someone like me who's very sensitive to human suffering, say, well, I wish I could have spoken to those parents when that child was 3. So I enrolled in a couple of infant mental health training programs.
So let me just jump on that one.
Yeah.
So, no surprise, are you saying you didn't learn infant mental health in your traditional psychology program?
Oh, so glad you asked that. No. In my traditional psychotherapy program, it was from the neck up, right?
Right.
Thoughts and cognitions, behaviors, and really, I'd say my assessment courses started at age 5. So I did not have any infant mental health training in my college PhD program.
That's so a lot of us who have moved to infant mental health, we really are relearning. We're building a new skill set to our existing skill set. We learned a lot. I'm also a psychologist.
Yes.
We learned a lot in our school, in our clinical field, but we really didn't learn the nuance of early development and how the infant brain is just expanding exponentially in its capacity to learn and grow. But you take it from there.
Absolutely. And we did. I mean, we learned about Piaget. We learned about Freud's levels of psychosexual development. So yes, we learned about Winnicott, who was amazing, who talked about there's never just a child, there's always a mother and child, there's always 2. So we had smatterings of that. But for me, the powerful change in the way I view development happened on an intersection of 2 things. One was the theoretical framework that I learned from Dr. Stanley Greenspan and Dr. Serena Wieder in the DIR 4-time model, and they really were pioneers in the 70s. They developed a sense of developmental trajectory that infants go through, called the stages of social and emotional development. And those were just eye-opening for me when I understood how development unfolds from the body up, because an infant you can't talk to an infant and ask them how they're doing, right? You have to observe their little body. And so I was lucky enough around that time in the late 90s to be asked to participate in a clinic at USC, a behaviors and babies clinic. And Dr. Marie Polson, as you probably know, invited
another
me.
family member. Thank you, Marie. Yes.
Thank you, Marie. And Dr. Karen Finello taught the course at CSVP. So I audited that course, and I was in the hospital every week at this clinic where we had an OT, a PT, a teacher, a pediatrician, an educator, mental health. And we had all these disciplines sitting around a table talking about the same baby, the same toddler. And that's when, oh my goodness, I just saw so many crossovers. Like, oh, what is sensory processing, for example?
Yes.
It's how we take in information from the world. Was sensory processing and sensory over or under reactivity ever talked about in my own graduate training? No. So I just feel like I was so blessed with this intersection of DIR and infant mental health that allowed me to understand that essentially the difference between what we call top-down behaviors, which is thinking, cognition,
Right.
you know, what we do with our brains, and body up.
Mhm.
And I should also give a shout out, she's probably a member as well, for Dr. Connie Lillis.
Yes, she is.
Okay, so, you know, we were all studying this stuff
Yes.
together early on many years ago and realizing that our current models are not sufficient to understand and really help support parents on the floor with children, with their
Yeah.
babies.
Yeah.
And
I just want to underscore how you
Yeah.
talked about the people at the table, OT and PT and psychology and also education and nurses. And that is the infant mental health community, folks. We get caught up in the term mental health, but infant mental health are all of us who support the social emotional health of little ones. And if you really want to make that clear at Callan, we are a transdisciplinary community. You don't have to be a mental health professional to be in this group. Actually, we need you if you're not a mental health professional, because that occupational therapist teaches me something, and that educator teaches me something, and there's this wonderful cross-disciplinary, transdisciplinary learning that not only do we benefit from, but so do the parents. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when we're all speaking the same language to parents, it's about social emotional development, because we're all dealing with social and emotional development, even though our discipline might have focused on a certain part of development, like motor development, or you know, our internal systems. We're all dealing with social and emotional development at all times anyway. So yeah, I welcome OTs, PTs, preschool teachers, and everyone to Callan. I mean, it's an inclusive group, and we need all of us together. Yeah.
Definitely,
Yeah. And so when you asked why, you know, what led me to write the book and my passion, it really was after I was in practice for quite a while, and I was implementing what I learned as an infant mental health specialist, especially something that came in as well through my DIR training was an understanding of the autonomic nervous system, where I met Dr. Stephen Porges and his work.
Yeah.
And so when I was integrating these new kind of theories into helping parents understand and helping IEP teams, for example, understand development, especially behavioral challenges, I found that really we were still looking at behaviors as the whole thing. And so what I was trying to do in teaching essentially during this time was for us to move away from just looking at behaviors, because as you know, I call them the tip of the iceberg,
Yes.
to what's underlying the behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So the underlying behavior piece is the most interesting part. And that's where we find all that information about how we really help a child. And so that culminated my explanations over the years. I felt would be kind of easier sometimes to hand over a book than to spend 5 hours talking about it. So I wrote a book called On Behaviors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And just in, I know we don't have 5 hours, but kind of tell us a little bit about what's behind the behavior. What are some things that are below that, under the water?
Under the waterline, yeah. Okay, so let's think about under the waterline. First of all, let's think about our current model of how we view behaviors, right? In our early intervention services, in our education system, and for many parents, of course. And by the way, whenever I talk, this is always a no blame, no shame deal.
Sure.
I am not intending any sort of a criticism of any sort of parenting technique or way you practice based on your own identity, your own parenthood, your own culture. So it's inclusive, and I don't mean to criticize. This is just a new lens that I've proposed. So just to say that I honor everyone's individual choices, of course. But currently, we have behaviors really looked at as either good or bad. And oftentimes, including in our DSM model, you have a checklist of a certain amount of behaviors, then you have this disorder, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't equal a good thing. Behaviors are kind of looked at as, if you have enough of these behaviors, something's terribly wrong with you. In our education system, if you have a long list of bad behaviors, then you are known as non-compliant. So in education, it's compliant or non-compliant. In our general society, it's kind of behaviors are either good or bad. And the shift that I described in the book is really looking at behaviors from not a disorder lens, but adaptations of the nervous system. And so really valuing behaviors for the incredible information that they give us about the child. So it's a lens shift from saying, oh, we have to get rid of behaviors to, no, we really have to value. The more challenging, the better. We can find out so much about what that child needs. It's really huge.
Yeah, it's sort of like, okay, so I think about the optometrist and they shift the lens, right? For those, anybody where it's going to go like 1 or 2 and you
Yes,
decide which is better.
You're always figuring out which one is
like,
which one's
really
better.
different. I don't know the answer, but what you're suggesting again is we're shifting our lens from that behavior is bad or we don't like it or I don't know how to understand it, because sometimes the behaviors that are bad are behaviors that we sometimes as adults can't make sense of. Sometimes, not always.
Yes.
And so what we're shifting to is, that behavior is telling us something about the child's internal state and how they manage. And in a way, what a gift is what I'm hearing in your transition. It's like, thank you for gifting me with that behavior that tells me you need a different response from me, or your nervous system is struggling. That's good data. Because I like data.
Oh, I do too. But I love the word gift. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that we can value behaviors for what they tell us about the child. So it is a gift. Now, as a parent myself, I remember when one of my daughter's behaviors were not interpreted as a gift, either by anyone on the outside or myself. And I was like, oh no, what have I done wrong? Because we have so much blame for ourselves as caregivers, and we think that we may have done something wrong. But when we shift our lens to, especially the more challenging behaviors, the ones that we would consider those fight or flight behaviors, when we shift our lens to viewing them as adaptations that we make subconsciously, that a child makes subconsciously, not out of willful misintent or the desire to be, a troublemaker, but out of this drive, this instinct to protect oneself. And so now we move to the lens of safety versus threat. And that lens just gives us a whole new tool chest, a whole new tool chest for our interventions.
Yeah. And I'm with you on the safety versus threat. We've had the gift of really learning from giants like Stanley Greenspan and Serena Wieder and Connie Lillis and Stephen Porges and Bruce Perry and Dan Siegel and on, right? So we've had that lovely gift. Not everyone has had that gift. And when you say safety threat, I want if you can sort of help explain that for practitioners and even parents on watching this. What do you mean? What am I looking for? What's that about safety threat? Yeah.
Oh, great question. Great question. So what does that mean? Well, there is a word that Dr. Porges developed, essentially a concept that he developed, that he introduced in the 0 to 3 journal in 2004 called, yes, 2004. Yeah. Dr. Stephen Porges wrote a journal for 0 to 3, which is the journal for it was the National Association of Infant and Mental Health Center, yes, something.
It was too long. 0 to 3, we love you.
Yes.
Thank you for changing it.
Yeah.
Go to their website.
Which
they have
you were
wonderful
a fellow.
content. Yes,
Yeah, you are. And so that, in that journal article, he introduced the word neuroception. Neuroception is a term he coined for the subconscious detection of safety and threat that all human beings have, that works on our subconscious level, meaning that we're not aware of it. We're not aware of our beating heart or our stomach digestive processes, but it's all happening in the background, similar to a TSA agent. Think of a mini TSA agent, the back of our child and our own bodies, always making sure we're safe. Okay. So when a human detects threat, it's very personally determined. Threat from a little mini TSA homunculus could be a smell. It could be a sensation from the inside, a tummy ache. It could be a toothache. It could be a virus that's kind of starting to develop in the infant or a toddler, where all of a sudden you see them doing these funky behaviors, these challenging behaviors. And what is really happening is that neuroception is picking up danger or threat, and the body's natural response to picking up threat has to do with mobilization. And as it gets increasingly more distressing, the mobilization can look like the sympathetic nervous system driver, fight or flight. So this might be like, it seems like a child out of the blue will hit someone.
Yeah.
But it's not really out of the blue, because there's an instinct in the body to move. And sometimes the way toddlers or children move is through, unfortunately, attacking.
Right.
So safety versus threat means the perception that's individually determined by each person's body to sensations inside of the body or in the environment, including other people. So it could be interoceptive, which is inside the body, or outside the body.
So I just want to restate that, because that's a lot. It's pretty complex, I'm sure. These tracking. So we're talking like below the neck. I'm not even aware in my brain what's happening. Below the neck, my physiology, my whole body is responding to external or internal stimuli, which is I perceive as a threat. I'm at risk now. And so my body, even before my brain kicks in, is going to do something. You said it's going to activate mobilization. It's going to activate. There's going to be an action. And that action may or may not be perceived well by others, but it's automatic, it's unconscious, it's below the neck. I did it to protect myself, not to make the teacher angry, but I did it because I didn't feel safe. That's what the lens we have to now shift to and understand. Yes?
Beautiful. That is the soundbite for this whole clip. Yes. Thank you. I love how you translate it. Yes. Translationally, that's exactly what it means. We now have a new understanding of that child doing something that we think is willful or non-compliant, or again, a behavior that's, maybe they learned this. I hear so many ideas from well-meaning preschool teachers and daycare owners, like maybe they learned this at home, maybe this is a learned behavior. Well, maybe it's an instinctual drive to protect oneself. And I think it's worth mentioning here, because many of us work with children who come from either toxic stress or trauma backgrounds, that if you have these experiences of perceived threat in your history as an infant, where you're especially vulnerable, for example, if you hear loud voices that are unpredictable, or if you are suddenly experiencing some sort of physical shift, if you're moved too harshly, or if you're mistreated, or if you're neglected, your brain starts to pick up threat more easily. And so many of our children that we work with who come from high-risk environments have what Bruce Perry calls a sensitized stress response. And what that is that they're more apt to be triggered by seemingly innocuous things. Does that make sense? And so you might see more behaviors in certain children who are more vulnerable.
And I think this is important for folks watching to be aware of, because I hear outside of the lens of infant mental health in just casual conversation, we again are struggling with the idea that babies don't remember. We still have that narrative that children are resilient. Oh, bad things can happen, but they'll be fine. They don't even remember. And we now have a great deal of information around the body does remember, and we may not even be aware of the traumas that we've experienced, but our body certainly is aware. So we're back to these really early experiences that can happen in utero, that can happen in the first month of life, when a child is in a situation that is not safe, and they're quickly moved and placed in a very safe environment. However, they still have these body-based responses that we can work with and shift, and I think there's a fair amount of information about how to do that. But I think we also have to respect the function of that behavior versus pathologizing that behavior. And I think that's part of what we're doing with our shift of our lens, is really starting to understand what this child is telling us versus turning this into a label or a bad thing.
Exactly. It's so important. It's if we understand how profound what you just said is that not understanding this contributes, I really believe, to the school to prison pipeline. Because we have to understand that these behaviors that we see in children that are actually adaptive and toddlers trying to save their lives, they don't know why they're in a fight or flight response. And think about it, if you're doing something that your body compels you to do out of survival, and then you get punished for it or secluded for it, like timed out for it, it makes you feel hopeless as a human, because you need help, you need social engagement, you don't need social disengagement. And so it's almost like our systems are backwards. The children with the most challenging behaviors need to be seen as the most vulnerable children. And we need to compassionately understand that those children are not actually needing more discipline or more consequences. They're needing more love. They're needing more engagement.
Wow, that is a huge shift. That's a huge shift. And when we think about the developing brain, we can begin to understand, I have this developmental background too, that there's developmental need. There's something in the brain that didn't develop in the way that we would hope that the child could support their own safety threat response. So we need to provide love and resources and compassion to build that part of the brain and build that part of the social emotional perspective of the child. Would that be a fair restatement?
Absolutely.
Great. And then
those networks.
Those networks.
The brain develops it through the layering of networks, and it's never too late. It's never too late to build new networks for children, but our little ones are so vulnerable to those networks getting offline. And so that's why we're trying to, through all of our infant mental health organizations, trying to get public awareness early in the first few years rather than later.
Yeah. Now, and as we speak about more compassion for kids who have challenging behaviors, disruptive behaviors, I like to say behaviors we don't like. They're behaviors we're not fond of, but they are survival behaviors for the kiddo, right?
Sure.
At the back of my head is sort of screaming the narrative, well, we're reinforcing bad behavior. So what do you want?
Yes, and okay, I so understand that. I felt that way too. and it kind of goes against our instinct, I think, as adults and as parents. Like, you want to raise your child up right? You want to do a good job, and
Yes.
and we're programmed to think that if we reinforce a child for doing something bad, that they might do it again.
Right.
So I get that, and I don't judge it, because I felt that way too. until I found out a little more about understanding that we have to know about, again, underneath the tip of the iceberg, if this is a survival mechanism, we will know that the child, the bad behavior equals vulnerable nervous system, instead of bad behavior equals a child who needs more discipline. And when we shift our lens to see this child whose body, not mind, whose body is giving the information, because remember that the networks that come up from the nerves to the body is like 80%, and it's only 20% from the brain down. The body's getting feedback that it needs to protect itself. So we need to counterbalance that feedback to let that child know, you're safe. You're safe, sweetheart.
Yes.
I'm with you. And that's the whole process of what we call co-regulation. So the strategy turns from discipline to co-regulation. And it's so powerful to see when a child is properly co-regulated, those bad behaviors fall away on their own. There's no reason for them anymore. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So I want to kind of just think in our last 5 minutes together about how we can support parents in making this shift. What would you want to say to parents? What would you want to say to providers to share with parents? What's a good way to shift my lens? Because I think too, as a parent and as a person, I'm full of my own experience and past messages and, old narratives, cultural narratives about raising children that are a part of me. Many of us are, and sort of said, I had that feeling too, I had to struggle with picking up my crying baby when she was running around. Am I spoiling her? Because I had gotten those messages, and of course I've learned that our babies need response. But we are caught up in some of those old ideas and wanting to do right by children and be better. So what might you want to say to parents as we're all working on shifting?
Well, you're just so good. I love how you framed the question, because the way you framed it was compassionately. So that's the first step. The first step is realizing that we have ingrained into us different ways of believing and thinking about raising up children. And I think absolutely what you just said about, okay, there's a conflict potentially here, because our instincts and possibly how we were raised, I know how I was raised, was with pretty much looking at behaviors for what they're worth and thinking that the parent had to mold the child's behavior. So first of all, putting our hand on our heart, saying, oh, this is okay, this is all right. I'm not a bad person for feeling this way, because this is how our culture has trained us.
Yeah.
Now we have a choice. And again, the choice must be, and I think it can be, synchronous with your faith tradition, with your culture, with your family values. It has to be synchronous with that. It cannot overtake. So we have to put that first, I think, compassionately, that we value our traditions in each family, and we're all going to have a different tradition, so we value that. But if we could just overlay a little bit of neurodevelopmental brain science to that, this is what it might look like. The next time you see a child doing a behavior that you think is a bad behavior, or something that is challenging to you, or you think, oh, this is not a respectful behavior, something like that, first ask yourself this question: is this a purposeful, willful behavior, or is this a child who's having a stress response and who kind of seemed to do this or say this bad thing out of the blue? That's a good signal. If it happens fast And if it happens during, especially like during a fast transition, or something's going on in the child's life, or maybe it's right before dinner time, or maybe it's when you're saying goodbye to a parent and dropping off grandma somewhere, think, is this a purposeful behavior, or maybe is the child's system that is the system of protection taking over? And then we might draw on our own compassion for the child and realize this is not a moment of teaching or consequencing, but this is a moment of engaging.
Yeah, all right, great.
Yeah.
Great.
But it's, I know it's a big life
shift.
It's
Yeah.
a big shift. It's a big
Yeah.
shift. And
Yes.
maybe we do it in small pieces, right? We don't have to do it all at once. But I think when I studied the work of, when I was writing the book, I was also taking for myself some courses in person from Dr. Kristen Neff, who has done a lot of research in self-compassion. She's like one of the world's compassion researchers. So I spent a couple of weeks with her on these retreats to garner self-compassion for myself, because I know I'm very hard on myself for all the mistakes I made as a parent, and I made many. And I think that when we understand that compassion for ourselves calms our own nervous system down, then we are able to be more present and do this co-regulation thing. So rather than coming away from hearing this kind of a talk and saying, uh-oh, I've been doing it all wrong, you can, what I hope you'll come away with is, oh, I did the best I could.
There you go. Yeah.
And I am okay. I love my child. And here's some new information I might integrate, but I'm okay. I did the best I could.
Right. And you know, I just want to add, I want to add, while this is, it's going to be a shift, I think about all the developmental information we have learned over time, like back to sleep movement. You know, it's sort of like, hello, that reduces sins. It's a good strategy, yet I survived sleeping on my stomach. I mean, I'm not suggesting you do that, but there's a generation of us that grew up in a different mindset, and now that we have new data and information, we can shift the way we support child development. This is another, wow, how exciting, new information, we can shift the way we support child development, and just remind parents that we're in this current COVID pandemic, and so we can expect our children will have less tolerance, I think, for things like change, for things like trying something new sometimes. And so be patient with yourself and your children. They might be a little more reactive, a little more antsy, and this is where more love and more support and more compassion and more snuggles and just more nurturing, I think, is needed for all of us, and particularly our little people whose brains aren't big enough to make sense of everything that just keeps changing. I mean, I'm confused. So I can't imagine how you can be 2 years old and 3 years old and make sense of all of this. So,
absolutely. The better we take care of ourselves, the better off our kids will be. So.
Yeah, I know we have limited time with you, so I want to say thank you again. I want to tell everyone who's watching that we welcome you to join us at Callime. Please feel free. We need your voice. We need your transdisciplinary perspective. And if you have a suggested video interview you'd like us to do, if you have a resource that you'd like to share with us, join and be a part of the community that's trying to make change. So again, thank you, Dr. Shellhook. Make sure to go to our website and make sure to apply for the book.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Take care.
All right.
All right. Okay, guys. It's break time. That was a long one. Okay. Woo! Get your snack. I'm putting this music on. It's sort of like within the 5 minutes, but a little over. So, get yourself. See you later.
There's a grace when the heart is under fire. Another way when the walls are closing in. space between where I used to be and this reckoning. I know I will never be alone. There was another in the fire. Come on. Standing next to me. There was another in the water. Holding back the sea. You should not ever need remind of how I've been set free. There is a cross that bears the burden, where another died for me. There is another in the fire. On my death at the top beneath the waters, I'm no longer a slave to my sin anymore. And should I fall in the space between what remains of me and this reckoning? Either way, I won't bow to the things of this world. I know I will never be alone. There is another in the fire, standing next to me. There is another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding of how it set me free? There is a grave that holds nobody. Now that power lives in me. There is another in the fire. 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 I can see the light in the darkness, as the darkness bows to it. I can hear the roar in the heavens, as the space between resting. I can feel the ground shaking beneath us, as the prison walls leaving. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us. There is no other name but the name that is Jesus. He who was and still is and will be through it all. So come on, man, the space between all the things unseen and this reckoning. I know I will never be alone. I know I will never be alone. There'll be another in the fire, standing next to me. There'll be another in the waters, holding back the sea. And should I ever need reminding how good you've been to me, I'll count the joy from every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. And I can see the light in the darkness, as the darkness bows to it. I can hear the roar in the heavens, as the space between resting. I can feel the ground shaking beneath us, as the prison walls leaving. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us.
That was a good signal to be back. Woo! coming up with stuff. It's only week 6. You know, I don't know how many more ideas I'll get from the 16 weeks. Oh, gosh, 16 weeks of remote. But we're on week 6. Okay. So, but who's counting, right? All right, we're gonna wait a little bit more. Abigail is here. You're all getting comfy. Oh, you got that fan blowing at you, Abigail. I gotta put on my fan because I'm. Whew. All right, so Abigail, what are you eating? Come on.
I got green tea mochi.
Oh, I love those. You guys know I love food. I just like, I do. I love food. It's hard to go on a diet. Unless it's seafood diet. You guys know that, right? That joke. Okay. All right, I don't need to explain. All right. Lani's here. Martina, I think you're here. I hope you're here. I hope you're back. And we're going to get started. All right. So hopefully you remember the video. I love that video. I have her books. I just think is that total shift as far as discipline, behavioral, classroom management. It's awesome. All right, so there's like 3 questions here. There's 8 of you. And I wrote, so there's like another group that's gonna have just 2 people in it. So it's a random thing. I did it through the tiles. So group number 1, who's gonna be answering the first question, Sydney, Abigail, and Brianna. Group number 2 is Eunice, Martina, and Gabriela. And group number 3, a pair, Lani and Betsy. So I'm gonna start activity. Shoot for whatever the question you have. I'm gonna read it now so that the clock doesn't go against you. 3 minutes. Recall a time in your childhood. Okay, it's not really a 3-part question now that I remember it. So forget the groups, we'll apply it later. Delete, delete, delete. Recall a time in your childhood when you misbehaved in school, at home, or anywhere else, but instead of calming down after being reprimanded, your behavior continued to escalate. Why do you think it escalated? What do you remember feeling, and why was it so hard for you to take control of that feeling? So when I had that question, developed that question, all this stuff came back to me. Anyways, have fun. All right, let's get going here. Gabby's on top. I'm gonna start listening to Gabby now.
I never really got into trouble, or I never really misbehaved when I was in like school. But the one time that I remember that I got like in a lot of trouble was I, for whatever reason, I was in like a laughing fit, and I just couldn't for the life of me stop laughing. I have no idea why. Like, I don't even remember. All I remember was that somebody told me something really, really funny, and I couldn't stop laughing. to the point where my teacher had to send me outside, and it was like cold. It was like winter. She sent me outside to quote unquote cool down, and even out there, like I just continued laughing. And my teacher came outside and she said, "Are you ready to come back to class?" And I just kept laughing, and she was just like, "Okay, well, I'll come back in about 10 minutes." And she did. She left me out there for a good while until after a while, like I just like calmed myself down. But it took me like a good maybe 20 minutes to calm myself down. I personally, I don't know why. I don't know why that my behavior escalated. I think maybe because being like sent outside didn't really help me. I wasn't given like an exercise to do to actually like get a hold of my emotions or a hold of like my feelings. It was just like, okay, go outside and deal with yourself without being able to calm myself down. I remember feeling, I don't know why, I remember feeling like giddy and like sad all at the same time because I couldn't do what my teacher had asked me to do. And it was hard for me to take control of what I was feeling because I wasn't specifically told like, hey, like, let's sit down, me and you, let's ground ourselves right now. And instead, I was just like thrown outside for 20 minutes and said, you got to deal with yourself. Like, I can't handle you right now. But yeah, that's my story.
Oh, that's funny. No pun intended. But you know what? Remember that because you might have a kid who would do that in your classroom. I think maybe you kept laughing because it was just so funny and you just kept imagining it or something. But yes, being sent outside doesn't help. It's kind of annoying. Yeah, I mean, the teacher could have asked, what are you laughing at? Or you could share it with her and see if she laughs too, right? I mean, that would have been like, you know, but yeah, I get that. I had moments like that too. I couldn't stop, especially in church. It's like one of those is like, you know, your shoulders are shrugging because you're laughing and you're trying to hide it and there's people behind you, in front of you. Yeah. All right, Eunice.
So this is at home. I said I think the behavior continued to escalate because the things on my mind kept piling up. So I didn't think it didn't help that I was getting in trouble at the same time. Overall, it felt like I was dealing with problems alone. So.
Yeah. So good to remember these guys. All right, Lenny.
I said I can't recall a time personally, but with my sister. And then I remember that it escalated because she didn't feel like they were listening to why she did what she did. They were just upset. And then, yeah, she was upset because they didn't listen to her.
Yeah, that's her reaction. Perfect. All right, Sydney.
So one time I wanted to go on a trip with my friends and my boyfriend, but my parents said no. But I went anyway, and so I gave them like attitude when I came back and like when they found out or whatever. And then I remember feeling super frustrated and felt like a child because I didn't have any freedom. So yeah. Yeah. You didn't feel like you were able to exercise your freedom. Yeah. That's like a reaction. All right. Thank you. Betsy. Betsy.
I don't know if it like went. I submitted a voice message, but if you want, I could just say it. But I don't think it's submitted.
Sorry about that.
The story I was gonna say was that one time my cousin slept over, and when he slept over, I did not like him when we were younger, just because he would take all the love from my parents from me. So one time we were eating dinner when he slept over, and I remember just telling him, there's a hair in your food. And when I said that, he started gagging. I didn't know how sensitive he was to like things like that. So then once I said it, he started like gagging, and then like he kind of threw up, and then everyone started yelling at me. But that moment, like, I didn't do it out of like a bad place in my heart. It just kind of happened. And then I remember, like, once they started yelling, I was like, I'm going to my room. But then, like, my sister, she kind of blocked me. So, like, I stayed downstairs and I got so frustrated because I just wanted to be by myself. And then I kind of just shoved her and I went upstairs. But that was a moment that it escalated.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get that. Don't you think that looking at these experiences from the lens of a teacher who has this kind of background now on compassion and stuff and trying to understand why is she really doing that, don't you think that helps? Yeah, I think that helps a lot. All right, Brianna.
I said one time when I was in high school, my teacher called me out. I don't remember what for, but it was like I probably was talking because I talk a lot to someone next to me. But he said it kind of angry and like sarcastic, and I got really upset. And so I just started staring at his shoes to make him feel uncomfortable. Because I remember my grandma told me that people feel uncomfortable if you stare at their shoes. So I felt like that was the only way I could get back at him. And so I just stared at his shoes and he kept staring at his shoes the whole time. And I feel like I did that because I wanted him to feel the same way I felt, like uncomfortable, and I wanted to get back at him. But yeah, that was before I was a good girl.
Yeah, it's sort of like a fight or flight kind of thing, right? You're defending yourself. Yeah.
I don't
Totally
do
get
that
it.
anymore.
I'm not condoning all this behavior because, you know, guys, I've been there. But yeah, it's time now to just kind of shift your lens to understanding. All right, Abigail, what did you do in kindergarten?
Oh no. So that was my troublemaker face. But anyway, in kindergarten, I would get so angry and I would break toys. And then the kids didn't want to play with me because they thought I was mean, and so I would act up more.
Yeah.
And then I guess I kept doing it because I sort of got a reward of attention, even though it was negative attention, but I got the attention I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. All right, Marty.
I don't remember a specific time. Like, I know that it's happened, but I don't remember a specific time. I feel like it escalates because our emotions are running high, and when we're in the moment, it can be difficult to just let those feelings that we're feeling inside go. I think especially like what everybody else is saying, like if you're not feeling heard, then it's just the more you think about it, the angrier you get, and the more you don't want to let it go or you're unable to. So, and I put especially as a child, because I feel like kids really don't, I feel like as you grow up, you learn how to deal with it more. But yeah, as a child, it'll be harder to contain those emotions.
Totally makes sense. All right. Oh, Gabby's back here. Okay, so I'm going to close this. Thank you guys for sharing that. I know it's something you don't want to tell people what you did when you were little, right? So it's kind of like maybe embarrassing, but it's something for you to just kind of understand, you know, why did I do that? And of course, as a child, you can't psychoanalyze yourself. So kind of give you a different lens here. Discipline is still good in your classroom, but I just want you guys to have that little bit of compassion lens there and understanding how our bodies and our brains work. All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Many professionals, and I got this from the video and from her book. Many professionals believe that problematic behaviors represent a child's effort to get something or to get out of something. They often blame a child's behavior challenges, lacks parenting or diagnosis. They assume that what a child or teen needs is better behavioral management, more consistently parenting, or better medication. Current neuroscience, though, reveals a more complex reality. Many problematic behaviors reflect how the child's brain and body perceive stress, kind of like the stress that you guys felt when you were having that behavioral problem when you were a kid. You were going through stress. Okay. So behavioral problems again. When we see a behavior that is problematic or confusing, the first question we should ask is not how do we get rid of it, but rather what is this telling us about the child? So that's a shift. That's a big shift, especially in our culture. Ask. And that's why when I have a student who's misbehaving, I say something like, okay, I don't want to be part of the group of people who's gonna ruin your day, because obviously you're not having a good day. So I'm listening, what's going on? So sometimes it's just little questions like that, and they will share with you. It's like, oh, so. And then you can kind of feel, okay, yeah, there's a reason. It's not just out of the blue, okay? All right, so understanding each child's individual differences help us tailor our relational and therapeutic approaches. And yeah, relational, gotta be relational. And she mentioned this in the video, safety threat or neuroception is our subconscious detection of safety and threat that we all have working on our subconscious level. So sometimes it's hard to understand. Behavioral problems. Our body's natural response to threat is mobilization. She mentioned that. Fight or flight. Teachers, oh, you guys like the bullseye, but I know you'll revisit it, so don't be writing notes. Teachers need to shift lens when we run into students who are demonstrating disruptive behavior. The children with the most challenging behavior, she mentioned that, need to be seen as the most vulnerable. Because obviously, if everything is okay, will they act that way? Probably not, but there's something going on. All right, we have video 11 minutes. Got it all timed out. We good with time? Or do you guys need a break? You guys are good, right? Perfect. All right.
In my working life, I am ignored. I'm ridiculed and tested to my limit on a daily basis. And yet, I know what I do. I'm a teacher in a pupil referral unit for young people who have been permanently excluded from mainstream schools. 25 years I've worked with all kinds of different young people, most of whom have challenging behaviour. And I'm here today to be a voice for them, because their real needs lying beneath the behaviour all too often go unseen, unheard, and unmet. Now, these children are easy to dislike. They challenge our authority as adults. They disobey us and disrespect us. They can make us feel out of control and sometimes scared, like we're failing, incompetent, and powerless. In short, they can make us feel like they feel, and it is unbearable. So in our schools, we prefer them to go away and be someone else's problem. But these are our most vulnerable and disadvantaged young people in our society, and they need our help and expertise the most, and yet we're failing them on a huge scale. Over the last 3 years in schools in England, we've seen a 40% increase in permanent exclusions. 40%. And in 2016, there were over 6,500 permanent exclusions. And the estimated cost of this over the lifetime of that one group is estimated to be over £2 billion. What we know about excluded children is that they're more likely to live in poverty, more likely to experience abuse and neglect at home. They're 7 times as likely to have a learning difficulty, special educational need. And over half of them are experiencing some form of mental health related condition. Ultimately, Excluded children go on to make up over 60% of our British prison population. And they're not just other people's children. They could be yours, or they could be mine. Like the 15-year-old girl who helped to nurse her mum until she went into the hospice, who struggled to cope when her dad moved his girlfriend into the home. And then one day at school, she was walking down the corridor and another pupil made a really cruel comment about her dying mum. And she lashed out and found herself permanently excluded. Not long after that, she went into care. And I later learned that by the time she was 18, she'd become involved in prostitution. I firmly believe that with the right support, her life could have taken a very different path. Just imagine if she'd been your child. What would you have hoped for her? And what would her mum have wanted? We human beings are wonderfully diverse, but our needs are fundamentally the same. And our need for human connection is the most important. Dr. Brené Brown says connection is why we're here. It's what gives our lives meaning and purpose. And studies have shown that the happiest people have the most positive human connections. So when connections unravel, so too does our ability to cope with everyday life. And for children with challenging behaviour, they've often become disconnected. They've lost their faith in adults and any sense of security that they had. And if they could do well at school, they'd be doing it. But there are barriers standing in the way. There are reasons. And it's never, ever simply the child doesn't want to. But knowing there are reasons doesn't help our mainstream teachers in their incredibly difficult jobs. Challenging behaviour in our classrooms creates anxiety, causes disruption to learning, and together with workload, it's one of the main reasons teachers give for their own mental health related absence. And ultimately, why some teachers leave the profession altogether. And this is where the ideas and approaches and expertise that staff use in pupil referral units and other alternative provisions could be so useful if it was extended and utilised in mainstream schools. What my colleagues and I know is that without a significant relationship, we can't achieve a single thing. These children won't like us and respect us and do as we say simply because we're adults and teachers. Adults have often let them down, so we have to prove ourselves worthy of their trust. We have to earn it. Unfortunately, for society as a whole, most children follow rules. But it's been shown time and again that children with challenging behaviour follow people first and rules second. Put simply, if they like us, they'll feel safe. And if they feel safe, they'll relax. And if they relax, they're more likely to comply and to learn. I've asked countless pupils, young people, what do you think makes a good teacher? And the responses are typically the same. They say things like, the ones who are strict, but that you can still have a laugh with, or the ones that seem interested in getting to know you, or ones that treat you like you're a human being. I asked one young man in my pupil referral unit this question recently, and he said, I never thought about that before, miss. Just give me a sec. I gave him a sec, and I waited. And eventually he said, right, get on to this, miss. I think that teachers, good teachers, are ones that you can have like a, like a proper bond with. Do you know what I mean? I told him I knew exactly what he meant. So is it possible for mainstream teachers to build connections with challenging pupils? I believe this requires a shift in thinking towards a greater sense of collective responsibility for these children. Now, many of us know that our current educational environment does nothing to encourage this. Schools are primarily rewarded on academic results. They're actually incentivised to exclude pupils. Ofsted inspections make no separate judgment about outcomes for children with special needs and those with challenging behaviour. And newly qualified teachers often report that they're unprepared for how to teach these children. But there are things that teachers can do in the meantime. Teacher and author Paul Dix says, it's the small stuff. It's the daily acts of care. It's the perpetual generosity of spirit and the interest you show in their daily lives that matters most. Small things that can have a huge impact. And we shouldn't underestimate the ripple effect that one positive teacher-pupil relationship can have. There is nothing more beautiful to me than hearing one pupil that I spent some time with say quietly to another pupil that's struggling to settle, "Margaret, leave it out, this is sound." Collective responsibility is where it starts. But if we want pupils with challenging behaviour to learn how to behave, we have to teach them explicitly and not just expect them to get it. And this is where restorative approaches to behaviour can be so useful. Now, these are not hug it out alternatives at the opposite end of the bring back the birch argument. Rather, they are tried and tested approaches designed to reinforce relationships. And they explicitly teach listening skills, like how to reflect on consequences, like how to develop empathy and a conscience. And they instill in pupils the expectation that reparation needs to happen. Detentions, time out, exclusions and isolation do none of this. And we've got plenty of evidence now that shows that our current systems, punishments and sanctions are ineffective for challenging pupils. The head teacher and author Giles O'Brien says that fixed term exclusions, that they are inaction, masquerading as action. They make us feel like we're doing something, and we're doing nothing of the sort. It is respite, it is not improvement. So we need a new way forward if we're going to meet the needs of the most vulnerable and disadvantaged pupils in our society. Because while the world is full of tragic stories that we're helpless to do anything about, we can do something about outcomes for these children. So let's take collective responsibility. Let's make connections. Let's share our expertise and integrate the best ideas. We should question and challenge an inspection system and a culture that ignores them. How can that be right? We should never forget that children with challenging behaviour are just children, doing their best to deal with what life has handed to them without any of our adult skills. And if they could tell you what they need, they would probably say something like, "Don't be scared of me. Please don't give up on me. Make me feel I'm important and give me hope that things can and will get better. Please see past my behaviour. It's not who I really am." So I'm joining with them today in their challenging behaviour to try to get their needs met, albeit in a more socially appropriate way. And I invite you to do the same. The only difference between all of us and the children I speak on behalf of is luck, education, and opportunities like this one. Let's make a difference. Thank you.
Anyways, okay, there's break. Are you guys up for break? Why not? Let's go play some music, and the music will be over in about a little over 5 minutes. So grab some snacks or go to the bathroom or whatever. Bye, guys.
You call me out upon the
It wasn't over 5 minutes. Sorry, it was less than 5 minutes. Ah. Hi guys, how was recess? I thought it was 5 minutes or more. Sorry, that song was short. Woo! Did you guys like my voice? That was my voice. Just kidding. Only Eunice is laughing. What's wrong? Okay, there. All right. Okay, this one I'm gonna do in groups. I'm waiting for Sydney, Betsy, and Lanny. That's okay. It was not 5 minutes. It's probably 5 minutes now. Yay, Lenny's here. Oh, Lenny, you switched. Okay. All right, Betsy's here. Sydney's here. Lenny, it's dark. Do you have migraines? Oh, okay. I used to get migraines and I'd be in the dark. So I thought maybe. All right. All right, Sydney, I think you're here. Hopefully. Okay, this is the 3-part question. Yeah. Okay, so you remember your groups? Group 1, Sydney, Abigail, Brianna. Group 2, Eunice, Martina, Gabriella. Group 3, Lanny and Betsy. So grab those questions. And when the question asks the shift, number 2, it's the teacher shifting the thinking. So just kind of let you know that. All right, I'm gonna get started. Hopefully Sydney can make it. If not, we can let her. There you go. How's the ice cream? Just kidding. All right. All right, let's get started. 2 minutes. All right. Okay, let's get started. Group 1, 2, 3, Sydney, Abigail, and Brianna. So I'm going to start with Sydney. Oh, I think she stepped out or something. All right, so let's go with Abigail. Where are you? Abigail.
Okay, so I wrote, teachers should be more understanding of the motives behind the behavior. Maybe the student is responding to sensations within or outside the body.
Yeah. There you go. Awesome. Brianna. Okay, I gotta go listen to Brianna.
Teachers should shift their thinking when it comes to disruptive behavior of their students by trying to focus on forming a bond with their students and remembering that they are children, that they are not the same age as them, and trying to remember that disruptive behavior probably comes from a lack of something, and they should try to help meet the needs of the students besides just getting frustrated.
Perfect. And, oh, she's back. Sydney. Let's go see Sydney. Go ahead.
I said instead of thinking of how to get rid of it, teachers should shift their thinking to looking at what the disruptive behavior is telling them about the child.
Yep. Looking for the root of the problem, right? All right, so the number 2 question is, we talk about teacher shifting. How does this shift look like? Eunice. Oh, okay.
I said just being more attentive and looking for what the student needs at the moment.
Yeah, perfect. Not reacting, right? Because most of the times, especially in my first year, I react, because it's like, oh, what am I doing? So yeah, just, calm down and try to figure out what the student really needs. Martina, are you okay, Marty? You can answer it on your own.
Yeah, okay. I didn't have time. I got kicked out.
I know, I'm sorry.
What would the benefits or advantages of this situation?
Actually, how does the shift look like?
Wait, it's the third question, right?
Oh no, you're in
Okay.
you're in group 2, but that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. You're participating, so that's
okay.
good.
So I'll answer, I guess, for the third one.
Okay.
I already started thinking about it when they were talking. So
That's
I
okay.
think. Hold on. Okay, so I think that being. Now I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Don't be sorry.
I feel like the benefits of listening to the students and finding the root of the problem would be that if you find the root, then it kind of just stops that behavior. Instead of if you just do the traditional punishments, it doesn't really get down to what the issue is. And you also don't build that bond as the teacher where the student feels that they can talk to you when something like that does happen and it's affecting the whole class. So
Yeah, definitely. All right, good points. Lanny.
I said the benefits are less kids will feel turned away from education because of all the punishments they feel. And then kids will stay engaged longer and might even be less inclined to act up.
Yeah. You don't get to break their spirit, because that's like something that's, we're all worried about. Am I going to break the spirit? And Betsy.
I think the benefits of having this shift would just make the children and the students feel welcome, comfortable, and I know in the video she did say an important factor is to make the kids feel comfortable. So I believe this would really help instead of the traditional punishment and reward system.
Yeah, comfortable or safe, right? You want them to feel safe. And I'm going to go back to this word again because it's very important. It's the holistic teaching, right? You're not just teaching them and dumping information to them. If they're misbehaving, you have to look at the whole child. So, holistic teaching. All right, I didn't miss anybody, right? Because, that would be bad. Okay, I don't know how long is this video. I think it's short because these guys didn't really talk that much. All right, so let's get started.
It's hard to figure out how to teach someone to be grateful, how to teach someone to have self-control. And in lots of ways, I think it may look very different than teaching in the way that we generally think about teaching. I mean, one way I think a tip that it plays out is actually in the discipline process. So when kids get in trouble, they now use the character language to try to get kids to think about why they made the mistakes they made, how they could do things differently. And it's almost, it reminded me of a lot of the metacognitive techniques of cognitive behavioral therapy. It's really getting kids to slow down and think about what they're doing, think about why they're making the mistakes they're making, and change themselves. So that is really different than traditional teaching in the classroom. But my sense actually at KIPP and other places is that is going to be the tool that's most effective to help get these skills.
Inside the classroom, how do you see it unfold?
Right. So I think that, I'm seeing it, I think you want to sort of make it viral. You sort of want to make it part of the culture so that it becomes part of the, we've tried to put it into the, some of the language into our faculty evaluation systems, because I think as a faculty, I'm actually not modeling these character strengths, then you can't expect the kids to do that. In a classroom, I saw just recently an 8th grade teacher that was asking, she had asked the kids halfway through the year to think about which one of these strengths had played out in their writing work documents. They were doing sort of revisions of writing, and these kids were writing these sort of meta-narratives about that piece of work that they were finishing up and saying, okay, I felt that because I was really curious about this subject, that therefore the writing turned out better. And then they actually had to revisit, they sort of had to revisit this process at the end of the year, picking out a strength or two that was good for them, that was really supportive of their work, and a strength or two that they had problems with. And I think, again, it's sort of diffused in the school. I think it's the way this shouldn't, a lot of educational ideas, it's like you've got to develop a new course, a new program, buy some new technology. I mean, I think something like this, it's like just how do we change our language? How do we change our focus a bit? There's a lot of things going on in schools. How can you focus on these non-cognitive strengths in a way that's sort of cultural and pervasive and sort of viral? And teachers run with this stuff. I mean, it's sort of amazing. I mean, teachers have been using this on the playground during recess and talking to kids and about how they need to be more self-controlled and using that language even with very, very young kids. And I think the earlier you do this, the research shows, the better it is.
One is we absolutely integrate this into academic studies so that when you're in 9th grade English, you start off by learning about Carol Dweck's work on mindset, and the idea being that is intelligence fixed, or is intelligence something that if you practice, you get better. And there is a lot of research that growth mindset makes a tremendous difference in terms of learning outcomes. And actually simply knowing that language and simply understanding the research makes a difference in learning outcomes. So as 9th graders, they learn about these concepts, and then they both look at it through the characters they're reading about. So they're reading the Odyssey, and did Odysseus have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? And then they're thinking about their own actual work throughout the year.
All right. Awesome. Moral behavior is caring about other people and considering how behavior affects other people. Children learn kindness and fairness from the way they are treated. So again, they act up because what? Guess what? Maybe they're the receiving end of that type of treatment at home or in their neighborhood or in the playground. You'll see really quickly after recess how some students who were so good and calm before recess time, they start acting up after recess. And a lot of teachers say, oh, you shouldn't bring sugar, and it's not the sugar. Something happened in the playground probably that you guys need to talk about, so yeah. All right, video. This time I put the bowling thing. I didn't forget it. 1 minute and 44 seconds. I think it's the same guys, different guys. Okay.
How can a parent help a child to develop self-control and moral behavior?
It really starts early. In fact, an infant actually discovers through his experiences that he can make something happen. He expresses distress, and his mom or dad basically respond with soothing and with comforting. In this very simple way, he's learning cause and effect. That is, he has a reaction and regenerates his parents' response with warm soothing, comfort, and reassurance.
I know this sounds surprising, but the experiences that you just heard are the first steps in the formation of self-control and moral behavior. Moral behavior is just this: caring about other people and considering how your behavior affects other people. For a child to develop moral behavior, he has to understand that behavior has consequences for himself and for others. For example, a little boy pulls his sister's hair. His mother gets very upset with him. He doesn't like the feeling of his mother being upset with him, so he works very hard to inhibit his impulse to pull his sister's hair.
Children learn kindness and fairness from the way they are treated. Toddlers and young children actually learn best when their parents are gentle and fair with them. In contrast, when parents use really strong force or mean-spiritedness with children, it actually frightens them and children will become resentful, resistant, and may become actually oppositional.
Okay. How do you make a culture of moral and character education in your classroom? I know it's a big thing, but imagine yourself in a classroom, whatever grade you're picturing in your mind, but how would you make a culture of moral and character? All right, there you go. There was a little delay there. We'll start with Gabby.
I'm honestly not really sure, but I think something that I would do is, regardless of how old they are or how young they are, just treat each student with respect, even if they don't respect me, because in that way I would build respect in our mutual relationship and our mutual friendship. I would make sure that there's not one kid that is constantly pestering everybody else and impeding on their right to self-govern. I'm not sure. I would also make sure that every voice is heard in the classroom, and just to make sure that if kids want to participate, that they do, and if they don't want to participate, then that's okay. But yeah, I'm not too sure if that's a good or right answer, but yeah.
It's always good answer. We are brainstorming here, so it's good. I'm glad you're participating, because if we're in an actual classroom, guess what? You still need to say it. So yeah, you said something important is respect, and respect is earned. So give it some time, and if you respect the child will respect you. Perfect. All right, Eunice.
I wrote the same, similar too, just modeling it first, speaking respectfully to students and staff, and then implementing some exercise to do that, but I'm not sure how that looks like.
Yeah, modeling. Just always remember they're watching you, like we watch our parents, and yeah. All right, Lenny.
I said, basically said the same thing by being personal and showing them your true emotions so that they can model after that.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, Sydney.
I was looking at it more between the kids, so have rules keep your hands to yourself except for hugs and high fives, saying please and thank you always, and having positive words only.
Yeah. You sort of give them some guidelines, some rules, right? Rules of the classroom. Yeah. All right, Betsy.
An idea that came to mind was to give each student in the classroom a role, just to give them some kind of responsibility, and just kind of give them a sense of equality inside the classroom, which just gives them respect too, and it could help them focus and have other things to be excited for.
Yeah. If the child feels okay, this is my responsibility, trust me, they'll own that responsibility rather than letting them run loose. So, Brianna.
An idea that came to mind was to give each student in the classroom a role, just to give them some kind of responsibility, and just kind of give them a sense of equality inside the classroom, which just gives them respect too, and it could help them focus and have other things to be excited for.
Here we go again. Sorry. Did you want to add something different, Brianna? Or was that you?
No. I guess it just doesn't want me to share.
Oh wow.
Oh, weird. I said the same thing as before. Someone said modeling by the teacher, and then maybe if they could have some like cool videos or activities where they can learn like manners and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Character, educational language. Remember what they said, those guys? Yep. Abigail.
So I kind of run out of time, but I started by teaching students to act. Sorry. By setting the example and allowing the students to express themselves in a healthy way. So I guess adding more to that would be like just teaching them what is expected of them and kind of reinforcing that, and that would build the character.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. All right, Marty.
I also ran out of time, but I basically wrote that the age group that I wanted to work with are kindergarten. And I feel like I would be able to do this in the classroom by showing the kids respect and basically like, I mean, showing respect to everybody around me, but specifically like showing it to the kids to hopefully in hopes that they would like mirror that. And also like have activities that try to teach them kindness and inclusion.
Yeah, you're right. You guys said it. Use some kind of character education language, like self-control. It's never too early to teach that to a young child. Active listening. If you listen to the child, you will find out pretty much what's going on. Trust me, the child will tell you everything. It's amazing how much they tell you what goes on at home. Showing compassion, holistic teaching again, and understanding the fact that sometimes it's a fight or flight situation for them. They do it because they didn't feel safe. Okay? So, all right. Okay, is it too soon for a break? Because I feel like we're just like, are we going? Keep going? All right. Love those. Yeah. All right. Say that song some other time. All right. If you guys have requests of video or songs so that I can play it during break time, email me because, you know, I run out of ideas sometimes. All right. This video is 18 minutes. Are you guys sure you're going to be okay? Okay. Raise your hand in the middle of the movie if you need to go. If you need to go, just go. Trust me, I understand.
Francis Lord Elementary School, words and the actions they promote mean a lot. At play, school, or home, character is an essential word. Lohr School is a New Jersey school of character and one of only 15 schools designated a 2010 National School of Character by the Character Education Partnership. Lohr's character program, called the Unity Program, is aptly named.
Good morning. Tuesday is News Day.
Each day begins with morning announcements and meetings in every classroom, from kindergarten to 5th grade.
And last month for today, we will shift to our activity.
There are games and discussions emphasizing words like cooperation, respect, and support.
Be my favorite because my great-grandma made it.
Morning meeting is an integral part of the responsive classroom ideology. That morning meeting sets the tone in the morning. The children build a sense of community in that classroom, which then transcends into a sense of community throughout the entire building.
This is our first Unity Day. Yippee! Get ready to find out what villages you're in this year.
The Lohr community includes Unity families. Students are assigned to groups with names like Accept, Appreciate, and Thanks. 5th graders lead the families and help younger students. What do you think of that?
That's good.
That's quite a compliment, isn't it? From a grown-up kid, from a bigger kid. You're working with a bigger kid? What's special about that?
It was to have a
I see the same ages as Keith or Steve. Good character education includes teaching social skills. The lesson has to start early.
They need to learn how to make friends, and in order to do that, they need to learn what it means to share, to cooperate, to respect each other. And so we spend a lot of time focusing on those words, and there aren't necessarily lessons that I create. It's naturally embedded in everything that we do in first grade.
We'll help you.
Henry.
Unite is when you stick together to work on everything.
Very good.
Ernestine Austin's fourth graders are working together using unity words to identify characters and amplify the lessons in Aesop's fables. Austin says she's caught her students demonstrating good character many times.
I had a whole lot of things, I carry a lot of stuff all the time. And I'm putting things down, picking things up, and without even realizing it, one of my students came over and was holding the door. I didn't even realize they were holding the door, never said a word, and then quietly just walked away.
Older students who've done especially well linking words to actions are selected to receive a unity pin. At a special ceremony, teachers and classmates offer praise, and honorees ring the unity bell before being pinned. Community service models are everywhere at the Lohr School. Retired teacher Mary Lou Cramley founded the Seniors Teaching and Reinforcing Skills, or STARS, volunteer program. She teaches Spanish and recruits other seniors to volunteer.
What I see here is such a family atmosphere because of the character education, so much courtesy, and the teachers really set the bar so high for the students. And the students know that if they don't reach that bar, they're not going to be able to get the honors or awards that they can get if they, if they do work hard.
And I have a lot of faith in myself.
You do.
Well, pretty much three things. One, my artistic talent. Two, my love for friends and family. And three, I have to say school.
We want our students to understand whether they're working together in a small group, working in the classroom, or school, working in the community, or state, or the country as a whole, that these unity words apply to their life. So when you're in the classroom, outside the classroom.
So awesome. All right, guys. How does moral education teach students real life skills? Provide at least one example to support your statement. Don't worry about how you write your answer and all that. What I'm looking for is an example of moral education. I don't know if you guys had that when you were little. I'm gonna start from the bottom up. All right, Marty.
Okay, so hold on, I'm trying to make it bigger. Sorry. Shh. So I put moral education prepares students for life. An example would be honesty. If you teach the importance of honesty early on, that idea will likely stick with them and impact the way they treat others and contribute to society.
Yep. All right. Go backwards here. Abby.
So I just put that moral education allows students to be able to work well in groups, which can carry out to the future education, jobs, or career.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, they need those skills, right? To work well with others, to talk to the boss properly, without flying off the handle, right? Brianna, I hope this is you. Let's Betsy.
I remember in a Sunday school class, my teachers taught us something about repentance, and we had like a red light, green light game. And it just helped us practice like when to turn away from wrong and like repent from our sins. And then, I don't know, I just think about that now as I've grown up, like the importance of repentance because of the activity that I did as a kid. Sometimes it still comes to my mind, and that's real life. I'm running out of time.
Awesome. We still need to do that as a grown-up too. So yeah, it's a good childhood. It's good to start that. Perfect. All right, Betsy.
I remember in a Sunday school class,
Oh,
my teachers taught us something about repentance.
all right. So Brianna, was that you? Okay. So Betsy.
So basically what I was saying was, I'm like trying to remember. I had to yeah, I was just gonna say that in my middle school we did like the whole going to the elementary next door and like helping the younger kids. So I was gonna say moral education just helps students like build the way they handle people, how they are with like everyone, even inside a classroom, outside a classroom. So it just helps their I want to say social emotional skills because I know we talked about it last time, but yeah.
Perfect. All right. Sydney.
I said, I think it will help students understand matters inside the classroom and out. It helps them respect not only authority, but their peers as well. For example, holding the door open for the teacher, like in the video.
Respecting authority. Isn't that a problem sometimes for some grown-ups? So yeah. And yes, I wish there would be more people who open the door for the teacher. All right, Lenny.
I just said teaching kids like not to treat others differently for any reason, but to treat all humans with equality and love.
Yeah, it's amazing how kids would be so mean just because their classmates look so different than they are. But yeah, that's a totally good moral education right there. All right, Eunice.
I wrote moral education can teach students at a young age how to cooperate and get along with their peers. And then an example I thought about was like complimenting like a project or what a student completed.
Yeah. Good life skills. Yep. All right, Gabby.
Moral education teaches students real life skills because they learn things that they're going to be using outside of the classroom. For example, when I was younger, working in groups, though it might have been stressful, even now today, it teaches you how to cooperate with other students and to be able to hear their ideas and maybe shift your views on things or let your voice be heard in the midst of everything else as well.
Yeah. Working in groups is great. I'm hoping I could do that in this class. I'm trying to choose what lesson we're gonna do it, but you'll get a chance to work with groups. All right. Remember Angela Duckworth, the lady who spoke about grit. Okay, you'll remember her. It's just less than a 4-minute video. So let's get going here.
I absolutely do believe that character has a place in schools. And my kids wake up and they go to school and they come home, and by that time it's late afternoon. They've had all these interactions during the day with their peers and with grown-ups called teachers. How do I translate that into character? That's the work that I hope to do through the Character Lab.
So we're going to the Character Lab today, and we're going to meet with Angela Duckworth, who's been doing research on how do you develop character in the classroom setting. She really focuses on the whole child. It's not just about academic success. Schools are using Angela's work to help kids reach their fullest potential. Angela, how are you?
Very good. Thank you very much
Good
for
to see
coming.
you again.
Yeah. I define character as Aristotle did, which is ways of being, ways of feeling and acting that are both beneficial to the self and also to the greater community. If you take character as that, then that encompasses grit and self-control, but also gratitude and emotional intelligence and generosity and curiosity, creativity, imagination, open-mindedness. These are competencies. These are things that kids can develop.
What's one of the most exciting new ideas you'd like to see in classrooms?
We're just at the beginning, but there are some, promising developments. We all have these to-do lists, right? Every time you think about goals, you can think about them in a hierarchy where you have this sort of specific, concrete to-do list things that you have to get done. Have this interview today, get myself coffee, return that email. Then you can ask the question like, well, why do I want to send that email? Like, why do I want to have this interview? There's some why that I have that goal. Like, well, I want to have this interview because I actually really care about communicating some of the most important things that are going on for my nonprofit, the Character Lab. It's like, the interview in a way is a means to an end. So I have this sort of higher level goal. But there's another why, and it's usually more abstract, more long term. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to teach self-control to kids. Okay, why? Because I think character is one of the most important things that a kid could develop. So every time I move up, that goal becomes more abstract, more meaningful, honestly, to me. And when you talk about really graded people, they have a singular, at least professional goal, right? Many people started actually just by having these low-level ones, and I think this is where kids are. I mean, I don't think many kids know when they are growing up, like what it's all about yet.
I think for a lot of our kids right now, this is getting into college X.
Interesting, yeah.
It's something that's external rather than internal. And I think it's really concerning.
Yeah, and you know what? Like having an ultimate concern that is imposed entirely by the person is not a good ultimate concern. Right. You can get kids to realize that college is like up here, but there's yet something. There's something more, and like education can, be a big part of this because it is in the schools where kids can, find and develop and deepen their interests, learn how to do hard things like practice and embrace challenge. And then one thing that schools can and should do is show kids that they're not just individuals out for themselves, but they're part of society, and everything they do influences other people.
That's why your work is so exciting. If science can empower schools to teach character, we'll ultimately be building stronger citizens and communities for all of us.
All right. So, what type of character education did you receive in K-12, if you did? How did your past character education impact you? And how does your connection with God guide your moral compass? Don't get stressed out that it's a 3-part. It's sort of all connected. So just express what it is as far as your experience with character education and as far as the moral compass that you have, your connection with God, and get started. All right. Okay. Did I not put... Wow! Where's my timer? All right. I have no timer for some reason. Let me go back. Let me go here. Okay, there it is. God, it just started. I didn't even get a chance. Okay, sorry guys. Are you guys, you can't finish your answer? Is that it? Still writing? I didn't put a timer, so I have no idea what you guys are looking at. Are you guys good? Oh, Brianna's recording her voice. Are you recording your voice?
I'm still thinking. I'm trying to
Oh,
remember.
God. I'm sorry.
No,
All
it's
right.
okay. I'm having a hard time remembering any character education.
That's okay. Then maybe you didn't. It's just in the past 7 to 10 years. I know you've been in school before that, but it's getting to be more of a focus of our public school systems now. Just because of all the school shootings, they've been kind of really shifting to character education, self-control, social and emotional learning, SEL skills. So yes, sometimes school district, not all of them integrate all of this. So if you didn't have it, you probably went to Sunday school, that's where you got it. So yeah, it's okay. I think I'm gonna go get started. And I'm sorry I didn't put a timer on that. Whoa, all right.
That explains why I have so many problems, because I didn't get character education.
Oh, no, don't ever say that. You have character, miss. All right. I'm gonna get started. I don't know if you guys are still typing. Yes, you are. You'll wait a little bit more for Sydney and Betsy. I lost my timer. So weird. Marty, are you okay?
I'm still thinking too. I'm like trying to write it out. I don't know how that F got there. I don't remember typing that, but I'm still working on it.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. As soon as I get Sydney's and Betsy's, I think that'll be like done. The timer will be done. Are you good? Yep. Oh, there you are. All right. Okay, let's get started with Gabby.
Hi. So I don't remember really in like elementary school any like character education or even in middle school, but I did have a teacher in 11th grade. She taught us how to be like more connected with nature. She was my literature, my English literature teacher. And she taught us about like Henry David Thoreau and like people like that. And so she like took us on like a nature walk one day, and she said, leave your phones here, leave your backpacks here, I'll lock up the class, it's gonna be safe. We're gonna go out and I want you guys to look around and take a moment to be in nature. And that actually like really helped me to see how usually I run like a mile a minute. Like in my head, I run so quickly in my head that I don't allow myself to like stop and process things.
Yeah.
And even though she came from like a secular view of it, it actually helped me in my relationship with God to actually like stop and like think like, hey God, like I'm struggling, like I need your help. And whenever he came through, I'd be like, thank you God so much, like I couldn't do this without your help. But yeah, so that really helped me to see where I needed to like pause and like take moments to actually like reflect and like what is the like I can't think of the word to like actually understand what I'm going through.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, perfect. Like I said, this character education thing, it's not a usual thing that school districts, you know. Are you okay? All right. Yeah, so you may not even have had it. Just like Eunice. She didn't have a formal character education. So
Yeah.
that's good. Did you go to Sunday school?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I was gonna say. Like, but
Yeah.
in high school, I think that's what really helped me the most. And then the last one is, how did connection with God guide your moral compass? I think that it's helped me make a lot of like create wise decisions along the way.
Yeah, yeah. Because God is light, so He shows you what to do and what not to do. All right, Lanny.
I said I feel like I've had good character education, and then like, just like, because I've always been Christian, and like that's always been my moral guide, so I never felt like my school like opposed that, so I just felt like it just like strengthened it, I guess. But
Yeah. It's amazing when you have a relationship with God. It just like He leads you, right? He just leads you to the right path. So yeah. Sydney.
I think I, for the most part, had a good character education. Like my teachers would always try to have a relationship with me and focused in on how we were doing. I think it made me more like empathetic for other people. And then having a connection with God makes me want to love on people and be respectful to everyone.
Perfect. All right, let's see.
I kind of answered the question wrong, but what I was trying to say was kind of like more what Sydney was going off of. So like, even though it wasn't like a moral education, I still was able to just learn how to treat people and just be kind to everyone. And then my relationship with God just shows me how to love people more.
Perfect. All right, Brianna, you can't remember. That's okay.
I had something come to my mind. I don't
Okay. Oops, you're a
know
little
if it was like technically education, but oh, sorry, hello. Sorry, my internet is horrible. Anyways, I had something come to mind, but I wasn't sure if it was like education. But we had in middle school, they did A for the day every morning, and it was like concentrated on academics or attitude. And you just like, they would have a different person and they share about them. And one time I got it for attitude because they honored me, I guess one of my professors or my teachers at the time. It was kind of nice how they would explain why they honored each student each day, and it was on something for good morals.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, Abigail.
Okay, so I didn't really have that education, but I did have a teacher in high school who pulled me aside one time. It was like after some stuff had happened at school, and she told me, I guess, to reflect on the way that I felt and how that would be beneficial to me. So it kind of reminded me of what she was telling me about Aristotle's, like, what was it? Way of feeling and acting and how they're beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes when I get stressed out, I just ask myself, how is this benefiting me?
Yeah.
And yeah, so just basically my with my connection with God as my guide, I just like when I cannot control the way that I feel, I just let Him like take over and just trust in Him to.
That's awesome. All right, Marty. Hey, it wasn't an F, so that's good.
I think I had extra time to fix it, so I don't know, because there was no timer. I had the time to fix it. So I put that. I don't think I had that type of education. If I did, I don't really remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember it, but I don't think that I did. I feel like having a relationship with God obviously helped me figure out and know what is right, what is wrong, and how I should treat others. So
Perfect. Well, you guys, I think you all had some type of character education in your life, because you guys are so good. Woo! All right. Thanks for the heart, Brianna. Anyways, you guys are awesome. Whether or not you got a character education, I can see that you guys are just growing to be such awesome people. Oh my gosh. All right. What's next? Hey, time to climb. We are like way before 9:30, so this is awesome. All right, we did Halloween last time. We did Himalayas already twice. Underwater, that's not new, but you guys want underwater?
Can we do the Halloween again? It was so
Halloween again? All right, in the spirit of Halloween, and because Gabby requested. See? You ask, you receive, right? All right, so let's go do that. Let's go Halloween, continue, and I think there's only 4 or 5 questions. Let's see, guys popping up. Oh, Eunice, yay. Abigail, Marty, Betsy, Gabby. All right. I'm like, oh, okay, who else is here? There should be 8 jumping. Let's see. Yep, now we're 8. Yay. All right, I'm gonna get started. 8 connected, start. Ready, set, go. Whoa. Woohoo! You guys are amazing. Nobody scored below 3,000. Isn't that amazing? Lanny, number 1. Woo! Eunice, number 2. Marty, number 3. Woohoo! Number 4 is Sydney. Yay! And number 5, Brianna Pinto with a big smiley face. Woo! Love it. I just love it. Good job, Gabby, Betsy, Abigail. You guys are good. Any questions whatsoever? I better turn this thing down. Okay, hang on. You guys have any questions? Yes. Brianna, are you raising your hand or are you just hot? Oh, okay.
No, I was stretching. That was my race stretch, my
All right.
final